Welcome to the Rock and Wellness Podcast, the show that takes you on a voyage to better health, wellness, and happiness that will rock your world. With me, Rachel Joy Olson, your host, your coach, and your biggest fan. Welcome to episode 40 of the Rock and Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Rachel Joy Olson. I am a wellness junkie and coach whose mission is to help women love and take care of themselves, discover their deepest desires, and live a healthy and inspired life. My passion to help people stems from my goal to support others in their health and wellness journey so they can play big in their lives, serve others, and be the change they want to see in the world. So sit back and relax as we get into today's topic. So I want to ask you as we get started, have you ever been rejected by someone who you were trying to help or who you were hoping would give you a chance? Have you ever failed at doing something you thought was a sure thing? Here's the thing. Rejection and failure do not have to be the end of your dreams. For some, rejection and failure are the exact thing they needed to grow and blossom into the person they truly were meant to be. In today's episode, you will learn how to use rejection and failure to grow and accomplish your dreams and goals. Now, whether you were excluded from a social engagement or you were passed up for a promotion, or perhaps you started an exercise program just to fall off the wagon, or maybe you started a business you thought was a sure thing only to have it go belly up. Rejection and failure hurts. We all know this. However, it's the way that you choose to respond to rejection and failure that will determine the entire course of your future. People who are mentally strong take rejection and failure and use it to their advantage. I have business mentors who literally follow the concept of go for no. This concept is all about getting over your fear of rejection and failure and seek out the no's because the yes isn't far behind. So for example, if you're looking to make a sale, you own a business, you're looking to make a sale, my mentor would say, think of all your potential clients lined up in a line. And the first person says no. And you say, okay, thanks, next. Next person says no. You say, okay, next, thanks. Next person says no. You say, great, thank you. The next person says, yes, I want what you have. And then you say, wonderful. You embrace them and you take them in, you help them, you show them, you give them what they need and what they want. Then you keep going. The next person says, no problem. Thank you. Next person says no, and so on. So you do that because not everybody is going to say yes, right? Not every moment or thing that you go for is going to be a success. And that's okay. Because just beyond rejection and failure is your success. So for just a moment, I encourage you to think back to a situation where you were rejected or you failed miserably. How did it make you feel? What did you do in response to that failure? Many people, including myself, have succumbed to the rejection and failure and let it take them down into a spiral of depression and self-pity. But think back though, did you allow that to happen? Or did you take that rejection and failure and let it fuel you to go for something bigger and better? So let me share with you a couple of stories about my own experiences. When I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I trained hard for fitness competitions. I actually trained for 5 what's called figure competitions. And I would like you to ask me now how many I actually competed in. And that answer is none, 0. I worked hard each time, seeing results. I saw amazing results. But each time I let fear, specifically the fear of rejection, take me out of the game. The last time I trained, I was probably in my early 30s, and I worked harder than ever. And I really believed I was going to do it this time. 2 weeks out of that competition, I realized I couldn't get rid of this little ring of fat that just loves to stay on my body, just under my belly button. Ladies, you can probably all understand. This is usually the result of too much stress and cortisol in the body. But at the time, my trainer had no idea how to help. I didn't know how to get rid of it either. But I had sworn that I wouldn't stand on the stage unless I was perfect. So guess what I did? I quit. I let the fear of failure or the fear of not being number 1 in that competition and being rejected take me out of the game. I didn't even think to get on that stage and be proud of how far I had come and all that I had accomplished. I just thought it was easier to quit. Now, from that failure, I allowed it to take me down into a spiral of negative thoughts. I dealt with my feelings through food and gained the 25 pounds I had lost over the course of 4 months almost overnight. This, of course, left me feeling even more like a failure. When I look back on that experience now, I wasn't mentally strong at all. I didn't have what it took to, first of all, stand on the stage, nor to learn from that mistake. However, as I look back on that experience, I have learned a lot. And this leads me to the first way to overcome rejection and fear, which is to acknowledge your emotions. Rather than suppress, ignore, or deny the pain of rejection and failure, people who are mentally strong acknowledge their emotions. They admit when they're embarrassed, sad, disappointed, or discouraged. They have confidence in their ability to deal with uncomfortable emotions head on, which is essential to coping with their discomfort in a healthy manner. So whether you have trained for a competition and decided to quit, or maybe you've been stood up by a date or turned down for a promotion, rejection and failure, it hurts. But trying to minimize the pain by convincing yourself or someone else that it was no big deal will only prolong the pain. It's really important that if you want to overcome rejection and fear and allow it to fuel you to bigger and better things, the best thing is to deal with these uncomfortable emotions and deal with them face on, right? Just deal with them, get into them, understand how they feel. So it's kind of like if you ever stubbed your toe. It hurts. Now they say, I heard this one thing, I think it was a doctor or somebody was saying, when you stub your toe, most people go, it doesn't hurt, doesn't hurt, doesn't hurt. And it actually prolongs the pain. But if you embrace the pain and say, oh my goodness, that hurts. All right, bring it on, pain, bring it on. I'm going to breathe through it. It actually dissipates a lot sooner. And I didn't believe this. But it's true. Give it a try. Next time you stub your toe, embrace the pain. Yes, it is going to hurt and it's going to sting. But it's going to move on quicker than denying that it's even there. I've been the queen of suppressed emotions. And they are not easy to deal with when they start to come out. So if we can just deal with the emotions as they, come up, it will be a lot easier in the long run. Now, before I speak about the second point, let me share with you another personal story. I joined a network marketing company years ago and had no idea that this type of business would have me riding a roller coaster of emotions. The amount of rejection that comes from this kind of business is mind-blowing. Rejection even from your family and closest friends, people who you would think would be your biggest supporters. I heard no so much that for many years, I just succumbed to the fear of failure and rejection. And rather than building a business that would have given me the financial freedom I'd always longed for, I chose to stay quiet about what I was doing and just slip away from it. The unfortunate part about that I realize now is there's a lot of people out there that could have really used my products and the products that I was selling. And I just chose not to share it with them. I will once in a while if somebody asks, but at that point I was like, you know what? I just don't want to hear no anymore. And I kind of let it slip away. Now, a few years later, I'm in a new network marketing company, and I'm still with the other one because I do believe in the products. But I believe in this company, and I use the products, and I personally love them. And I have committed myself to building this business. The reason is because number one, I love the network marketing business model. And I always laugh when people say, oh, that network marketing stuff, it's nothing but a scam. And I shake my head because some of the most successful people in the world have built their empires through network marketing. So I have a business background. I understand that this is one of the best business building strategies in the world, but it takes commitment and it takes courage. So as I step forward in this business, I keep in mind that, I really have to keep in mind my goals. So I've heard no numerous times. Rather than letting it take me down this time, I am viewing this rejection as evidence that I am pushing the limits. which is the second way to use rejection and failure to grow. When you push yourself out of your comfort zone and start to be rejected or fail, this is how you know you are pushing your limits and living life to the fullest. I watch some of the most successful people in network marketing, and I am just so inspired by their courage because they are putting themselves out there every single day, and they're really not letting what other people think get in their way of their goals. The key is to expect that you will be rejected and fail sometimes. That's just life. But the successful people go for it anyway, even if you suspect it'll be a long shot. Think of the athletes, the Olympic athletes who train for 4 years to get an opportunity. I mean, they might not even get an opportunity just to even qualify. And let's say they qualify and they get into the Olympics. Some of those events in 30 seconds or less are over. And they have trained for 4 years to potentially fail. Right? Think about that. That is amazing. But yet they stay focused and they do it. So if you've never been rejected or failed at anything, you are likely living so far in your comfort zone that you will never accomplish the life that you desire. You will know that you are pushing yourself to your limits when you get turned down or get knocked to your knees every once in a while. I love listening to Grant Cardone. He's probably one of my favorite business mentors. And the reason is because he speaks the truth. So I'm pretty sure I heard him say one time that if you don't have haters, you're not working hard enough. And that really inspired me because for a long time I've been scared to have haters. I don't want people to hate me. Who does? But he makes a good point going, if you've got haters, you know you've made it. And I thought, wow, isn't that the truth? By you pushing outside of your comfort zone, you're making other people uncomfortable because they're inside their comfort zone. So when you get rejected for a project or passed up for a job or maybe turned down by a friend, you'll know that you're pushing yourself out there and you are one step closer to your goals and your dreams. No one ever got to where they wanted to go on a straight and easy path. Ask any successful business owner. There are always bumps in the road, but it's how you navigate the bumps that will determine your outcome. So the second way that you can use rejection and failure to grow is to step out of your comfort zone and get used to rejection and failure. Go for no. I remember when I started building my business and I heard no over and over again. I started to take it personally. I started to actually believe that I wasn't good enough, that even though I have a master's in business degree, I might not have a clue what I was doing. I compared myself to other people who I saw as successful and was disappointed that I wasn't in the same position as they were, and I allowed it numerous times to take me out of the game. This, my friend, is one of the most detrimental things a person can do. Rather than thinking, oh, I'm so stupid for thinking I could do that, you want to train yourself to treat yourself with compassion. None of us are perfect. None of us are going to do everything right, and none of us are going to succeed on the first try. Think about a child who learns to walk. Do many children just go from a crawl to a stand and they're off and running? Maybe some do, but not very many. Usually they've got to be knocked down and knocked down and knocked down. I know when I was learning to ride horses, my grandfather always taught me that if that horse bucks you off, you're getting back on. Because if you allow the fear to take over, you will never get back on that horse again. And you will never learn to ride. So we want to respond to negative talk with a kinder, more affirming, and encouraging message. Now, over the years, I've learned to be kind to myself. Building business is not easy. And it's not going to be paved with people lining up to say, yes, please, I want what you have. It's a series of ups and downs and learning curves, as is anything in life. Think about how hard it is for many people to live a healthy lifestyle. Think about yourself. It's not that easy, especially because we live in a society where a healthy lifestyle is almost looked at as being weird. I have literally been called weird for the healthy lifestyle that I have chosen to live. There will always be someone or something there ready to take you down or say no to you, and there will always be times when you fail. But guess what? That's okay. During these times, speak to yourself like a trusted friend. Drown out your harsh inner critic by repeating helpful mantras that will help you stay mentally strong. One of my favorite personal mantras that I repeat over and over and over again when things get tough is be the change you want to see in the world. I absolutely love this. This is by Mahatma Gandhi, and this statement has got me through so many difficult times in the past. You know, when you feel defeated, first acknowledge how you feel, because that's first and foremost, right? We've got to acknowledge the emotions and then learn from the experience. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back to it. Get back on the horse, as they would say. Your dreams are worth more than any rejection or failure. I said to my niece once, and I kind of want to get her into my business because she's young, and I just have seen so many young people who get into network marketing and are multimillionaires by the time they're mid-20s. And I just said to her, why don't you join me? Why don't we do this? Well, what would my friends think? And I just thought, I get that. So many of us are worried about what other people think that we prevent ourselves from reaching our dreams. And I'm just really hoping that, if there's a message at all today, it's go for your dreams and don't worry about what anybody else thinks about you. When it comes to rejection and fear, it's important to understand that each situation is an isolated event. What I mean by that is that just because you're rejected or fail at something once doesn't mean that you're a failure. It's important to keep rejection and failure in proper perspective. If you get turned down for a promotion at work, don't declare yourself to be incompetent. Or if you get rejected by someone who you want to take out on a date, don't believe you're unlovable. These single events are not who you are. For those of you who know the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, her story inspires me so much. She was a single mom, struggling to keep food on the table. She drove or rode the train every day to work and back, and while she was on the train, wrote the book, first book, Harry Potter. And when it was done, she apparently was denied by numerous, I think it was 11 or 12 publishers, if not even more, before someone finally said yes. Now, in the grand scheme of things, you think 11 or 12, that's actually not very much. But for most people, they give up after 1, 2, maybe 3 rejections. Think of the times you've been rejected. How many times you've just went, oh, okay, they said no. If she would have given up, we would not, throughout the world be enjoying the series Harry Potter, which is one of my favorites. She would not have built an empire that she has built that now feeds her family, has set her family up for life. And she has now been given the financial opportunity to help people, different charities and things that she believes in. If she would have given up, think of how different that part of our world would be. Walt Disney, another example. I studied him when I did my business degree, and I think it was something like hundreds of rejections before he finally got someone who said, yeah, I believe in you. I believe in your vision. Hundreds. I don't actually personally know anybody who would keep going after hundreds. I think it's really important for us to learn from these people to go, they never gave up on their dreams. And Walt Disney, look at it now, it's a huge franchise. Whether or not you like Disney or whether or not you agree with their business practices, that is the prime example of someone who didn't give up when rejection was continuously thrown in his face. Right? One person's opinion or one single incident should never define who you are. Don't you let your self-worth depend on other people's opinions of you. Just because someone else thinks something about you definitely doesn't mean it's true. And I think we can all learn from that lesson. When you look back at all the times you've been rejected or failed in your life, it may be easy to just give up. Instead, look back on these events and learn from them. Every person who has accomplished big things in their life will say that to you. A high-level athlete knows that they will have to be rejected and fail over and over and over again before they are successful. I watched a video on YouTube not too long ago that showed a women's race event. If I can find it, I'll put the link on the show notes page. The woman in the front fell as she was getting closer to the finish line. What was motivating about this video is that she just jumped up and kept going, worked hard, and ended up winning the race despite the fact that she actually tripped and fell. Think of how many people would have just given up in that moment, may have been embarrassed at what just happened and let that take them down. What would you have done? Would you have jumped back up and gotten to it and actually won the race? Or would you have said, I'm a failure, I'm done? So what have you done in similar situations in the past? When you look back at all the times you have been rejected or have failed, ask yourself, what did I gain or learn from that experience? There is a great lesson to be learned in each one of these situations. Rather than simply tolerate the pain of rejection or failure, turn it into an opportunity for self-growth. With each rejection and failure, you grow stronger and become better in your ability to accomplish your goals. About 6 years ago, I found myself in an extremely uncomfortable financial situation. I had allowed poor business investments and education to take me into a debt load of over $100,000. At the time, I was making minimum payments but barely keeping my head above water, and I was extremely stressed out about what this meant for my future. A good friend of mine suggested that I speak to a trustee about the possibility of claiming bankruptcy. I was sick over that thought because to me, that was the ultimate failure. I got myself in this mess. I should be able to get myself out. But I did. I spoke to a trustee and he explained that I would likely be dead before I got myself out of this debt load and suggested that I either claim bankruptcy or something called consumer proposal. Without getting into too much detail, I chose to claim consumer proposal, which meant I had to pay back about 30% of what I owed, which was a lot better. When I was in this situation, I remember saying to my coach, "Why is this happening to me? I'm such a failure." And he said to me, "You might not realize it right now, but there is a great lesson for you to learn here." And boy, was he ever right. Even though going through that experience was probably one of the most painful things I'd had to do, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I had never learned how to respect money or use it to my advantage. The lesson I had learned from a young age was spend now and pay later. But now here I am, years later. I am debt-free. I have investments and savings in the bank, and I've never felt more financially free. Yeah, I'm still working towards my financial goals, but I now have learned a great lesson from this experience, and I am now able to share these lessons with other people to help get them through their own personal and financial hardships. And of course, financial hardships is just one thing. It could be a health issue that you're going through. I've gone through my share of those as well. Emotional trials, gone through those as well. There is a lesson to be learned in every single rejection, failure, and hardship that we go through. Every single one. Now, whether you learn about areas in your life that need improvement, or you simply recognize that being turned down and failing isn't as awful as you imagined, rejection and failure can be a great teacher. Going forward, I encourage you to use rejection and failure as an opportunity to move towards accomplishing your dreams and goals with more wisdom and courage. And remember, I'm always here. If you have questions, you need help and accountability, you need somebody to just give you a hand and help you get through some of those hardships, I'm happy to help. Shoot me an email. Check out my website, rjowellness.com, and see about the different ways that I can help you. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking your wellness. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Rockin' Wellness Podcast. Make sure to visit my website at www.rjowellness.com, where you can subscribe to the show and check out all the show notes. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, if you'd simply tell a friend about it, that would help out too. You may choose to join the R.J.O Wellness community to take advantage of the freebies, courses, and coaching that will take your voyage to the next level, or support this podcast with your monthly membership. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking your wellness.